Hey everybody, it's Michael from Wahoo Comics here with another haul and speculation video. And as usual, I've got a bunch of books that I'm looking forward to showing you today. Starting off with this one, Tales to Astonish number 90. As you know, I love to collect the first appearances of villains, and this book contains the first appearance of the Abomination. And so it's a book that's been on my radar screen for quite a while. Especially because it was confirmed months ago that he's going to be in the upcoming She-Hulk Disney Plus series. But about a month ago, surprisingly, he also made an appearance in the Shang-Chi trailer. And so this book has really gotten hot lately, and I knew I needed to pick it up now before it went too crazy. And so I am really happy to add this to my collection. And it's going to be really interesting to see what plans Marvel has for this character, since now he's going to be in 2 franchises. And I think that Shang-Chi will just be a cameo, kind of a short appearance. I don't think he's going to be any kind of main villain. But will he just keep popping up in the MCU? And of course, if he does, this book will just continue to climb in value. And so I am really, again, happy to have it in my collection. And speaking of the Shang-Chi trailer, there was also what appeared to be a dragon in it, and so that's got a lot of people speculating that maybe that was Fin Fang Foom. And so another book I recently picked up was this one, Astonishing Tales number 23. And this contains the second appearance of Fin Fang Foom. His first appearance is years earlier in an early copy of Strange Tales, and that book is pretty pricey. And as you know, once collectors start getting priced out of first appearances, which many are, including me, at least at this moment, people start looking for their second appearances. And so I think this is an affordable book that's a good one to pick up if you can, of course, find it at a good deal. And that will really grow in value if it is indeed Fin Fang Foom in that movie. But I think regardless, will steadily climb in value because it's a well-established character and an early appearance of him in comics. All right, my final kind of bigger book that I'll show off today is this one, Thor number 148. And this contains another first appearance of a villain, which is the Wrecker. The first comic books I ever read was probably when I was about 6 years old. My mom took me to Kmart, and they had these 3-packs of comics that you could get for $1. And so I got 2 of those. I guess from my allowance, I got like a quarter a week then. And so it was like a month's worth of allowance for me. But one of those 3 packs contains Secret Wars 7, 8, and 9. Which of course, Secret Wars 8 is a big book because it contains the first appearance of the symbiote that later, of course, becomes Venom. And considering I got it when I was 6 years old and I just didn't handle it nicely at all because I didn't think comics had any kind of value other than reading value. It's in pretty good shape. Yeah, it's solid mid-grade, and so it's one of my personal favorite books in my collection because I got it obviously so young. But I read those Secret Wars books over and over and over as a kid, and all of the villains from those became really special and cool to me. And some of the ones I especially just thought were really fun were the Wrecking Crew. And I've always loved that character since then, especially the Wrecker, the leader of the crew. And I've always felt like he's just this guy that got bullied as a kid, and he just needs a big hug, and he's just got this big chip on his shoulder all his life. Just kind of a common man that got some powers and just started doing bad things with them. But if somebody just gave him a hug, he would be all better and a good guy. That's how I would write him if I wrote a character. I'd write a redemption story for him because I've always liked him. But I'm really excited to add that book to my collection. And right after I bought it, there's actually some rumors that have been spreading that the Wrecking Crew might be in that She-Hulk Disney Plus series. And I got this without knowing that was a possibility. But this book and a couple other books associated with the Wrecking Crew have picked up some steam. And of course, if they are in there, and I think eventually they'll be in the MCU, they're pretty big characters. Maybe not main villains, but side villains. Then this book will continue to rise in value. So I'm excited to have it. All right, a few budget comics that I've picked up recently from another seller include this one, Thunderbolts #1. and so I picked this up for just a few dollars. And I think, of course, if you can get Incredible Hulk 449, which is the first appearance of the team, that's even better than this one, but this is their first series. And I don't want to spoil too much if you haven't been caught up with some of the recent movies and TV shows in the MCU, but there is clearly some new team that's being developed in the MCU, and there's a lot of speculation of what that team is going to be. Seems like it'll be the Dark Avengers or the Thunderbolts. And of course, if it's the Thunderbolts, then this book will continue to really grow in value. But I still think, especially if you get it for a few bucks, it's just a great one to add to your collection anyway. If you know their story, they're almost all reformed villains who turn good. They start off with bad intentions, but turn good, most of them. One stays bad. And then he's later redeemed also. It's Baron Zemo. But those are, like I mentioned with the Wrecker, I love the Royal Redemption story. Those are some of my favorite stories, not just in comics, but in movies and TV shows and books. Whenever kind of a bad guy has a redemption story, I love them. So I've always loved the Thunderbolts, and I'm glad to have issue number 1. And then a few other books I picked up for about $1 that I think are good to pick up if you can find them for that price from this same seller. This Incredible Hulk 379. And this contains the first appearance of the Pantheon and a lot of characters that are part of that group. And it's a big part of the Hulk mythos. And I don't think they'll necessarily be in the MCU anytime in the near future. But if they keep developing the Hulk as a character, then I think at some point they've got to show up. And regardless, it's still a book of characters that are important to the mythos. And so for $1 or so, it's just a great thing to add to your collection. Speaking of the Hulk, this Incredible Hulk and Wolverine number 1, and this is a reprint of their first meeting in Incredible Hulk 180 and 181, and it's really interesting. Reprints have started to pick up some value, especially if obviously key issues like this, because once people again are priced out, and almost all of us are priced out of Incredible Hulk 180 and 181. Once people are priced out of that, if they still want to read the story in print, then they have to pick up, obviously, a reprint. And so this has, of course, an original cover, and I think for $1 it's a great thing to pick up. A few other books I picked up were this one, Spectacular Spider-Man number 120. As I mentioned a few videos ago, something I am trying to do is complete the collection of these 25th anniversary covers. And there's a subset of collectors who want to have this whole collection, and I think for that reason, people like me who grew up when these came out, that I think eventually these will maybe be even more sought after. And so again, if you can pick up for $1 or $2, neat to have in your collection, but I think stand a good chance to grow in value when eventually I think these things hit. We'll see. But still cool anyway. I think they're cool covers anyway. So I picked up a couple others that I didn't have, including this one, Alpha Flight number 40, and Conan the King number 37. And I especially like ones like this where the print run is a little lower than some of the more mainstream titles. I think I mentioned a few videos ago the actual most valuable one is Care Bears, whatever number that is, because it's such a low print run, and of course it was mostly little kids who had it, and so it's hard to find them in good condition. But especially these lower print run ones are really good ones to pick up, because obviously people want to, if they start collecting these, they want the whole set, and so it's easy to pick up maybe the Spectacular Spider-Man, they're plentiful, or an Avengers, but ones like this where there aren't many out there in good condition are good things to speculate on. Speaking of good speculation, that brings me to my sleeper of the week, which I also got from that same seller. It's this one, Cage number 14. And this contains the first appearance of Rick Mason, who was in the Black Widow movie, in comic books. You might remember a couple of videos ago, I bought his first appearance in media, which is in this graphic novel. It's like magazine size, which I was actually surprised of when I got it. I thought it was going to be a comic book form. And so after getting that, I found out his very first appearance in a comic book is this one, Cage number 14. And I think that character will continue to appear in the MCU. and so I think this is one that will continue to climb in value. It's already, I mean, for $1, a great price. I think it's worth a little bit more than that already, and so a sleeper, one that I think will grow. And then that brings me to my question of the week. That if you'd like to leave a comment, you can answer this. So I mentioned, of course, the Abomination is going to be in some upcoming Marvel properties. And if you've been watching the MCU for a while, way back in the only standalone Hulk movie in the MCU, when Edward Norton was Bruce Banner, so a while ago, the main villain in that was the Abomination. And so it seemed like this character is just kind of long and forgotten. It had been years. But now he's making a comeback. And so the question is, what MCU villain who has been in a property already would you love to see come back in another movie? I think for me, I'll pick Killmonger. I thought his character was awesome. Obviously, a lot of people did. And I think there's a decent chance they find a way to bring him back. It's going to be interesting, of course, to see where they take the Black Panther franchise or the Wakanda franchise, who will kind of fill the role that the Black Panther filled now that Chadwick Boseman has passed on. And I think there's a non-zero chance that Killmonger kind of assumes that role. And of course, if you've been anywhere aware of anything happening in the MCU now, of course they've established there's a multiverse, and so you can really bring any character back in, find ways to bring them back in. And I think there's a storyline in the comics where, well, not just Killmonger, this happens almost any character that dies, they find ways to bring them back. And so I know they can bring him back in some way. And so anyway, my vote would be for Killmonger. But what is your vote? Who would you like to see come back? What villain did you really love? Would it be Ultron? Would it be Yellow Jacket? Would it be Thanos? Who would it be? So of course, leave a comment about that, or just anything else you'd like to ask about, or share some cool books that you've picked up, or things you think we should be specking on. And of course, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, that would be a big help if you do so. Like, comment, all those good things. But thanks for watching, and I look forward to the next video.